Hi, I'm Paul Schroff. I work for Armor Cloud Security. I'm Director of Engineering there. I have more than 10 years experience in cloud, security, compliance, and automation. I help companies integrate with the cloud and provide security for their applications and for their infrastructure. In this presentation, I want to show you how you can leverage the modern cloud to deliver continuous security outcomes that can apply to any environment. I want you to have three main takeaways from this presentation. That the cloud has changed everything for us. That the hard part about security is not necessarily a technology problem, but rather a cultural problem and an operations one. And finally, that you can use today's modern cloud to deliver continuous security and continuous compliance outcomes. Let's look at the transformative force of the cloud. This is Gartner's digital disruption scale as it relates to the arrival of the modern cloud and its effect on technology, industry, business, and society. One thing I want to draw your attention to is that it hasn't reached dominance yet. There's still many hybrid use cases and requirements that companies have. But it has changed a lot of how we handle our security and integrate with the cloud, like services, like containers and serverless. So we're still on that total domination journey. The industry has also progressed, starting with MSSPs, like SecureWorks, that were a people game. Boots on the ground, hardware versus software, lots of appliances deployed in your environment. Leading the way to MDRs, and a more lightweight approach to managed detection and response, software sensors versus hardware integrations. And finally, the arrival of the modern cloud, bringing a SaaS-based approach for consumption of security services like workload protection and posture management. So we're moving our way up the stack to layer 7. Let's look at how the workload is evolving. There's a lot to worry about when you're managing your own data center. Take advantage of the shared responsibility model that the modern cloud brings for you. And get yourself and your teams out of managing power, networking, servers, patch management, run times, and get your business to where you're writing code and you're worried about how you're going to build and deploy it. So what's the modern CISO thinking about? It's probably thinking about the $21 billion talent shortage that 2019 brought us. Layering on a security competency on top of that makes it difficult to describe the position that you want, find, and hire the talent that will make your business successful. Second, can you bring the security technology stack that you have on-prem with you to the cloud? And how will you manage the inevitable alert fatigue that comes from that process? And finally, how do you keep pace with innovation? Cloud services providers like AWS release weekly new features, leaving you in an endless loop of training and learning in which you always feel behind. Vendors are always pitching technology. Big data, cloud scale, machine learning, AI. All these great solves. But we saw from the previous slide that you're probably not going to have all the people that you need to run it. And there's not an unlimited budget to buy everything that we see behind us, leaving you in a position to ignore true positive security outcomes in your environment that are relevant to your business. So how can you take advantage of the modern cloud, leveraging security? First things first, infrastructure as code. AWS CloudFormation supports around 15 major AWS integrations. Transform your application into one that can be described by code, bridge the difference between your dev and prod environments, and be reliably deployed by anyone. Reduce risk and embrace a DevOps cloud-native strategy. And don't be afraid to try something new, like moving your antiquated build process up to AWS code pipeline, or building new services using serverless technology and AWS Lambda. And finally, CloudFormation supports everything that's up on this architecture. But how do you integrate security on that? Vendors like Armor provide a DevOps-friendly approach to workload protection, as well as integrations into their cloud-native services here at Amazon. The benefits will be simplified, repeatable deployments in your environment. You'll be building golden images so that if one of your hosts gets compromised, you can quarantine it, deploy a new one in its place in minutes. Reduce RPO and RTO times by transforming how you do disaster recovery by moving to something like CloudFormation for your entire environment. Standardize your deployment process for your entire team. And gain out-of-box compliance controls that can be validated at a code level before a deployment happens. In the beginning, we saw the trinity of cloud service technologies: workload protection, posture management, and access brokerage. These technologies were born out of the MSSP and MDR space and have evolved to now work in the security as a service model that we see in today's modern cloud. When we think about security, it comes in a couple of different major frameworks: the accidental, which we'll look at here in a second, and the intentional. The intentional, we're probably pretty familiar with. Those are your hackers, your script kiddies, the threat actors that are out to cause you malicious harm in your environment. Then there's the accidental, such as developers making a production database update, accounts that don't have MFA access, and unsecured S3 buckets. Neil McDonald with Gartner said that by 2020, 80% of all cloud breaches will be due to customer misconfiguration, mismanaged credentials, and insider threats, not cloud provider vulnerabilities. The 11 incidents that you see up here represent more than 380 million records exposed, and all of them were due to misconfigured S3 bucket access. So how do we prevent that? By leveraging a cloud security posture management tool that brings out-of-box controls for your environment, as well as enables you to write your own security policies that can be managed in real time. Build your strategy, assess your cloud, notify of drift, monitor, and auto-remediate. But most importantly, ensure that you have a strategy for how you're going to mitigate against an accidental exposure. Armor had more than 680 million unique attacks last year against our 1,200 customers. There's an increasing attack surface that is fundamentally unfamiliar due to the fact that it's new to everyone, which leaves you in a place to either DIY your own security, leveraging cloud-native integrations, or partner with a vendor like Armor to provide the strategy and tool sets that you need to be successful without having to hire a lot of people to come in and manage the security platform for you. Second on our trinity is workload protection. And I'm not going to go into too much detail here because there's a lot of people who can go into a lot of detail about how they've solved this. But I just want to leave you with one thing. Don't reinvent the wheel, and ensure that your security strategy is done around the capabilities you have and the technologies that will solve them. Craig Lawson with Gartner said that by 2020, 60% of large enterprises will have a cloud access security broker, and that by 2022, 60% of all enterprises will have a cloud access security broker. So why is this so big and important? What unique cloud services is your environment and your workspace using? Things like Office 365, Salesforce, GitHub. But what are they using that you don't know about? Keybase, Docker, or your developer doesn't like the code repository you have, so he's using his own personal GitHub. How are you managing the sensitive data in your environment? How will you prevent data loss and prevent customers from disrupting your environment? How will you manage shadow IT and the good intentions that they bring and prevent sensitive data from leaving your environment? These three cloud security technologies represent a way to operationalize the modern cloud, keep pace with innovation, and provide a way for you to not have to hire the people and the technology that you'll need to run your business. So going back to our three major takeaways as a conclusion, the cloud has changed everything. Ensure you have a strategy for the accidental and the intentional. The hard part about security is not just a technology problem, but rather the cultural problem of how you're operationalizing it. And finally, by using our trinity of software, you can use the modern cloud to deliver continuous security and compliance in your environment. Thank you, everyone.